our favorite spots to come. You probably heard there was a solitary sandpiper here. Lu and I, my name is Jaynne and my husband Lu Carbyn and I have traveled many places around the world to watch for birds and check on the wildlife there, and there's definitely lots to see here today. So we're going to take you on a journey and show you a few of our favorite spots. That's it.
Look at that, that's kind of interesting. It's actually moving around in the circle.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh gosh, look at that. That's an Oreo.
Yeah.
See the Oreo? Beautiful colors.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, eh?
That's life for me.
Is it? Oh, terrific. All right, well, here we are in a nature sanctuary, and Nicole Dahl is coming along. She's a student. She's just finished her work in the renewable resources, and I taught her part of a course. And one of the things that I'm really challenged by is to bring young people from the theoretical setting in a classroom to the real world. And here we are looking for different species of birds. We just saw some bumblebees in some of the vegetation. This is actually not a natural area. This has been disturbed by an oil company, but there's still a lot of things to see. So I'm just going to get Nicole to say a few words about her interest in biology.
Yeah, so like Lu said, my name's Nicole. I just graduated from the University of Alberta this past spring. And yeah, as Lu was saying, it's different from learning in the classroom, all the birds and animals, and actually being out in the field and listening to the songs and being able to identify things. So it's a really good experience to go out with someone experienced like Lu to learn new things. And already today we've learned 3 new species. So.
Hey Nicole, it's great that you could come out to the sanctuary with us today. Wonderful trip.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always nice to come out and experience nature.
And here at this pond that's been created by beavers, this is where the infamous Lu falling through the ice in the winter happened, just over beyond where the lodge is.
So what kind of birds do you see in these meadows?
Well, definitely we heard solitary sandpipers and we saw them perching, and buffleheads nest in this pond in particular.
Okay, tell us when you want. Remember, Jaynne, right here, we've actually seen a Lu sparrow. And that was this spring. And that Lu sparrow hadn't been here for 5 years. 5 years! And then it came back this spring at the very same location, right by this beaver dam. And on the other side are 2 big lodges. An older lodge, which has got raspberry canes like crazy on it, and a brand new lodge next to it. And that brand new lodge is quite big, quite tall, and it was built last summer. And by building the lodge at that location, they actually cut down 10 different trees and left one lonely tree standing, all by his lonesome self. And these are big trees. So it's amazing how the beaver changed the landscape. They make ponds, they cut trees, they provide a variety of habitats for many different species of birds. And it's a great asset to an area like this. The beavers are number one. Oh, I just heard did you hear that common yellow-throated warbler? Yeah, he was just singing back there. It's probably not loud enough for you to pick up, but he was singing. You have to just trust me there it was. Maybe you've heard that. And right up there is a tree swallow nesting in an old woodpecker box. Okay.
Well, I was noticing all the nice wildflowers in these meadows.
They're gorgeous, and even in the pond too. Look at that.
Yeah, all the lilies
Calla
in the
lilies.
background. Yeah, very nice wetland.
This wetland wasn't so evident in the winter, especially on the other side. Lu has talked about the beaver cutting a whole bunch of trees down. Weren't sure why you know, they were doing it over there, but now we know why, because there's lots of water, and Lu discovered, unfortunately, in the winter by falling through some ice over there. Didn't think the water was going to be deep enough, but it was. It was way over his head.
Oh, look at that. This is where a moose had been bedded down. On this piece of land, there are 3 different kinds of hoofed mammals. There's moose, and there are elk, and there are deer. And the deer that are here are mostly white-tailed deer. There used to be a lot of mule deer, but nowadays all we get is white-tailed deer. But this is where a moose was resting. At this location, about 3 years ago, there was a little hollow in there, and a blue-winged teal was nesting there. And we saw about 12 eggs in it. She had flushed, and then when we came back a week later, we'd actually seen where all the eggs were broken, and the skunk had actually raided the nest. Hopefully the hen got away. This is a blue-winged teal hen, got away and only destroyed the eggs. But there's always a skunk roaming around here in the springtime looking for duck's eggs. It happens invariably. If you don't see them, you can smell them. But he is around, or she is around, quite regularly.
Yeah, but one time they did get in, and they thinned out the beaks just perfect. But we couldn't have done it better ourselves.
That's so.
Yeah, it was quite funny. And we've got lots of raspberries there, and then one of the nicest things is the look at all these frogs.
I know, I'm trying not to step on them as we walk by.
That was good. This is a really interesting spot. There's a lot of things to point out. First of all of this here is actually hazel shrub. And that's what the moose like in the wintertime. And so do the blue jays. They like the nuts, the hazelnuts. And the gray catbird loves to nest in here. And over here, actually, we have the high bush cranberry. It's quite common in this aspen parkland landscape. And of course, high bush cranberries are edible. They make nice jellies. A little tart, but really nice to pick in the fall. And just behind me is the Alberta rose, right next to this little birch tree here. That's the Alberta rose, the Alberta emblem. Oh, over there is a beautiful butterfly at the honeysuckle. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's just with the honeysuckle, there's a swallowtail butterfly. Great. And over here, behind me in Anna Lake, is a beaver lodge. There are 7 different beaver lodges on this quarter section, 7 lodges, and 6 different dams, beaver dams. And the beaver are very, very important to the ecology of this piece of land. They provide a lot of diversity. So this is one of my favorite spots because you can see a lot. Sometimes you can see loons in this lake. Unfortunately, they're not nesting here this year.
So over here I noticed there's some really nice twinning honeysuckle, and I've been looking at it and there's been lots of big bees flying around, so I think the bees must really like these kind of flowers. And over there you can see the big beaver lodge. I haven't seen any beavers today, but we saw quite a few ringneck ducks and widgeons, and what else did we see? I see something else down there. Anyways, it's a good spot to find birds at.
One of the nice spots about coming out to the land is stopping for a picnic lunch. So here we are at Adam Lake. Lu and Nicole are enjoying some craft beer.
And there are 2 beaver in the background. And we're going to look at the dam in a minute because it's very, very interesting dam. It was created in the last couple of years because 3 years ago the dam broke and all of the water that's in the background rushed out. And it took them 2 years to bring it back to where it's now, which is really a nice big dam. And there's as much water in the dam now behind the dam as it ever was before. Very interesting pond, lots of things to see right here. This is a trail camera, and I'm putting this here right at the edge of a dam, a beaver dam. And in this particular beaver dam, I've recorded all kinds of animals using it as a bridge. There are skunks, there are mink, there are fisher, there are deer, there's cattle. Sometimes you'll see a number of ducks crossing over this area, and muskrats and beaver all the time. And all of this because I put a trail camera on which records all of that activity. And over there, actually, there's a beaver. If you point over there, you can see the beaver swimming. That's a common yellowthroat singing in the background. Do you hear that?
Yes, and the white-throated sparrow.
Yeah.
And the beaver just slapped his tail a few
Where?
minutes ago.
Where did the beaver flap his tail?
Right over there. Right in the pond. In Adams Lake.
What's so special about Adams Lake?
All the 4 lakes here are named after the grandchildren. Oh, look at somebody's getting dive bombed there. A raven's getting dive bombed by probably a red-winged blackbird. You can hear the trickle of the...
Something really interesting. We got something really interesting here. These are 3 different antlers. This is of a young moose. This is of an even younger moose. It's smaller. And over here we have one of a white-tailed deer. All members of the deer family have antlers. In the cow family, they have horns. Antlers grow every year. And here you can see where it fell off from the skull. So this time of year, in June, July, August, into September, they have these small antlers growing bigger and bigger, and they're covered in velvet. Very, very soft tissue over top of it. Then towards the end of September, October, November, they start rubbing off the velvet to make them nice and smooth like this. And then later on, they actually drop these off after the rutting period. So they use these nice antlers during the mating season, and after the mating season going into the winter, February, March, they drop off like that, and then in spring they start growing again, which is the case right now. They're growing bigger and bigger with all this velvet on top of it. This area here is one of the really attractive parts of this whole quarter section, because you invariably get species that always come back every year. A Lincoln sparrow is nesting over there, song sparrows are nesting over there, and to my left here we have a beautiful marshlands called the Ray Cromie marshlands. We named this after a very well-known naturalist, Ray Cromie. Ray Cromie, he was an owls expert. So this is the Ray Cromie Meadows, and in the background you'll see a single tree. Last year, around this time, there were about 11 trees, and that's the only one that's left, because earlier part of the summer last year, the beavers moved into this area and they start cutting down all of those trees. And that single tree in the background is the only survivor. So
single tallest tree.
Single tallest tree, absolutely. Yes,
there's a lot of trees.
The one on that little knoll, the single tree on the knoll, is the one that survived. And the beaver were the ones who used it to build a new lodge, actually. They built a new lodge over there.
Look at the woodpecker tree here.
Oh yes, that's there are always swallows nesting in there, tree swallows. Every year, the tree swallows nest in that tree. Good for pointing it out. This is a really interesting spot. It actually is an outflow from Anna Lake, from the spring-fed lake, into this little marshy area. And what's really unique here are the calla lilies. This is one of the best areas that I know anywhere where you see this many calla lilies. A beautiful plant, and it flowers, starts in very early June and then really starts to proliferate to the middle of June. At this particular spot, we invariably get a shorebird called the solitary sandpiper. And the solitary sandpiper is really interesting because it's the only shorebird that actually raises its young in abandoned nests of other songbirds. They particularly like the nests of robins. So this shorebird actually goes and finds empty robin's nests and will lay their eggs in those nests. Okay, start. Okay. This small lake is about 8 acres in size, and unlike some of the other ponds that we have, this is a spring-fed lake. The ponds are all beaver ponds on this piece of property. Now you might notice I have a camera in my hand and I've got gloves on. Right now we're in the middle of June, and that's when you have to deal with insects, all right, mosquitoes. And I put mosquito dope on my hands, which I don't want to get on the camera, so I put these gloves on. Nothing to do with COVID out here, but you do have to worry about your equipment. Well, this lake here in the springtime, Anna Lake is what we call it, is a major stopover for waterfowl. We'll have 7 or 8 different species on this lake. We used to have loons nesting here, not this year, but in 5 previous years we've had loons nesting here. And we also have trumpeter swans come here to feed. They nest somewhere else, but they come out here to feed. So this is a beautiful little lake. We will be seeing other lakes that are really not lakes. They are beaver ponds. Beaver are tremendous engineers, and they know how to create very special areas for a large variety of wildlife, especially waterfowl, and birds of all kinds and descriptions.